So it's Sunday and I'm driving home from church, and I actually did this when I was driving to church, but it didn't quite go the way I wanted it to. So I've got the camera in my dash. Hopefully it stays secure. I'm not really sure. But I just figured I'd start this thing called the Sunday Drive for each Sunday and just talk about whatever. So today, since I'm driving from church, I just figured I'd just talk about religion. And I know it's kind of a touchy subject. It's a touchy subject for me too, kind of. But because a lot of people say that faith and religion is something that's very personal, and you shouldn't talk about it, in public or with friends, because you end up stepping on toes or whatever. And I don't really believe that. I mean, I can see the point of it, like, especially if you belong to a faith that believes that God's going to condemn everyone who doesn't belong to that particular faith to hell, and I don't believe that. And I mean, but I think for me, religion is a very important part of my life, and that's why I go to a Unitarian church. Not because I didn't want to reject religion when I was kind of growing weary of it, growing weary of this idea of a loving God who's going to condemn, 99% of the world to hell. I mean, I had issues with that, but religion, as a whole, I really enjoyed. I really liked it. I really liked building my own spirituality and just seeing what was out there and feeling close to God. And so, I mean, that's why I've been looking for a church, and that's why I'm just starting to go to this Unitarian church. And I mean, I really like it. I mean, today it was especially good. But I'll talk more about that in the blog entry. But just religion in particular and spirituality, for me, it's just been it's very comforting, and it's how I build, myself and my philosophies about life and, people and the world and all these sorts of things just sort of build on each other, and spirituality is a big part of that. And let me talk about, when I talk about what I believe, I'm not saying, what I know. I don't know that what I believe is true. I have my own perspective on the world, and everyone else has their own perspective on the world, and that's what kind of builds our belief system, our value system. And but I think it's really important to realize that believing doesn't mean that we know. And I think I've matured to the point to know that I may believe something, but not everything I believe 100% is the truth. I know that on some issues I'm going to be wrong, and on some issues there is no right or wrong. There's just belief in our perspectives. But as far as an objective reality, it's just, I mean, we don't see the objective reality. We see our own reality, which is completely different. And everyone has their own perspective and perception. And our perception doesn't often fit, God's perspective, or I guess the perspective of the universe, which is objectivity. Which is why, yesterday on my Saturday 5, I said one of the things that really annoys me is proselytizing atheists. And it's not just atheists, it's, everyone of every faith. But, I mean, ambulance. Let's go ahead. Believes that everyone who doesn't hold their faith is wrong, and they should be told that they're wrong and taught that they're wrong. And if they continue to believe it, they're immoral, they're wrong, and they should go to hell, or not even go to hell, but they're just, stupid or something like that. And I think that's a very immature belief system. I think it's very disrespectful, and I think it doesn't take the time to understand where other people are coming from in their belief system. And I think if you can't take the time to understand and to, gain that perspective, or at least see things through that perspective for just 5 minutes, then what gives you the right to say stuff like that? And so that's kind of my area on that. And it's not just, you know, one particular faith or one particular belief system. I mean, at my church, we have atheists and Christians and Muslims, whatever, people of all these different faiths. And instead of being anti-organized religion, it takes all these different faiths and takes wisdom and learns from them. And it's not rejecting every faith that isn't our own. It's, you know, bringing them all together and creating a more mature spirituality that's very inclusive, that is very much built on love and respect and understanding. And I think, you know, being taught that God is a God of love, that sort of fits that whole idea, that whole philosophy. You know, if God is a loving God, He's not going to condemn someone to hell just because they didn't grow up in the right place to hear of the exact right religion out of all these many that are supposed to be lead you to the one truth in the world and the one true God and whatever. I mean, that doesn't make much sense to me. You know, how can God condemn you to an eternity of torment if He loves you? And so I just don't know. And so that's why I started learning about all this stuff. And, you know, my story is really complicated, and I'll get into it sometime. Oh, hey, my mom just called me, so that's going to be interesting to edit. So anyway, about religion, and I was pretty much almost done talking, to be honest, but religion, I think, and organized religion in particular, and building a spirituality and being mature about it is, you know, something that's a huge part of my life. And I thought, you know, when I got tired of this religion, there's so much I loved about my old church, you know, but it was, you know, there were some sort of dogmatic issues that I had that I didn't agree with. And so I was really happy to find this church that did not completely reject religion, you know, and embraced religion, the better parts of religion, the love, the community, you know, the service, and the idea of a loving God, and the idea that it's okay to believe in something greater in the universe, something big in the universe, and at the same time be intellectual, be inclusive, and help care for the poor, and, you know, and these sort of issues that I think, you know, fundamental religion has forgotten or, you know, rejected. And I don't know, and I just feel like in this way, I think religion can be a very, very good thing in the world, and I think it can be a very, very good thing to some people. Not everyone, you know, maybe some people it's not for them, and that's fine. But I think for me, it's always been essential to build my own spirituality and sort of feel connected to the world and the universe in some way. And I feel like through religion, through going to church, that's the way I do that. So I'm just really glad I have that opportunity to do that, and with people who are in the same boat in some ways as me. In some ways they're on their own journey. So I mean, that's just basically where I stand. So that wasn't complicated, and I hope that next week it goes a bit easier and maybe I can get it done in one run. But yeah, so read the blog and see further thoughts from me or whatever I decide to write, because I haven't decided, and that is a good place to stop. So goodbye.